is.
Ready to break a leg?
Absolutely.
Action!
The Revival is the finest event of its kind in the world.
They're complete lunatics, this lot, so I think it'll be quite a fiery race.
They were human beings creating these machines with emotion and with heart.
There's motor racing and there's motor racing. And then there's the Goodwood Revival. This is like no other. It's like stepping back in time. Goodwood becomes a theatre. Its racing circuit, the stage, and of course the cars become the leading actors, while the 100,000 or so visitors become the supporting actors.
And one of the many subplots is fashion. And nowhere in the world is there quite the same passion for vintage fashion as right here at the Goodwood Revival. And with that in mind, we'll be meeting some of the people that make the Revival so special. As for me, I'll be clowning around on the Richmond lawn, getting my big break in the movie world and doing some plain talking with the likes of James Martin and Bruce Dickinson. Meanwhile, Ben will be meeting living legend John Surtees and taking an emotional trip down Goodwood's memory lane with a tribute to the Battle of Britain. And on the racetrack, we've got a whole host of famous faces in some of the best-looking classic cars around.
As you can see, plenty coming up. Next up, it's some of Goodwood's biggest names for the St Mary's Trophy. While you watch that, I'm going to chat to Winston. Listen, that speech, I've got a much better way you should start it.
Well, the cars are on the grid for the St Mary's Trophy for production saloons between 1950 and 1959. Patrick Watts on pole, Tom Christensen, the multiple Le Mans winner, Andy Rouse starting from pit lane, and then racing drivers turned TV celebs Tiffany Dell and Martin Brundle on road number 2. All set to go then for the start. The flag waves and away we go, and Tom Christensen makes a great start in the big Austin. Tiffany Dell trying to get the big Jaguar off the second row, and the blue and yellow Volvo that was on pole position of Patrick Watts is pushed back to second.
All of these cars may look pretty humble, but they're very carefully developed for racing.
There is Andy Rouse. Now, he started from the pit lane. I wonder how far he's going to be able to get. 4 times British touring car champion. On board with Stuart Graham, a former touring car driver himself in the 1970s in the Mark I Jaguar. He's got a bit of work here. Tiffany Dell in the big Jaguar with Martin Brundle chasing him.
Yes, extraordinary how quick this little Austin A35 is. He's got about 100 brake horsepower. The big Jaguar has getting on for 300, but very much more weight. And the Mark I Jaguar, which Stuart Graham's racing there, we're riding with him, much lighter than the big Mark VII Jaguar, so it should be quicker.
There is Martin Brundle in that little Austin then, fantastic. On board with him now, and he looks pretty controlled and composed, doesn't he? A lot of soaring at the wheel we saw on board with Stuart Graham's Jaguar. It's a little different in the Austin, but up front, look at Tom Christensen under pressure from another British touring car star of the past, Patrick Watts. He's giving us a little wave, and on board with Stuart Graham once again now. He's going up against Martin Brundle. He's got Tiffany Dell just ahead of him. He's going to try and take both of them, but Tiff just coming across. Where's he going to go? Is there any space for that Mark I? Oh, the big Mark VII of Tiffany Dell getting quite sideways, and Stuart Graham is still chasing it.
Well, the A35 only needs a very small gap as they go through the chicane. A35 almost invisible, tucked in behind that Mark I Jaguar.
Yeah, the A35, the little blue car there, it is tiny in comparison to the 2 Jags, but Martin Brundle is giving his all. He moves one way, then the other. There's cement dust down where oil went onto the track earlier on. That could be very slippery as they go into the right hand, and Tiffany Dell kicking up the dust. Back on board with Stuart Graham. He's in the middle of this little group, and he's got Martin Brundle bearing down on him as well. But Graham's going to have a look up the inside of Tiffany Dell here, and I think he's through. Yep, lovely move from Stuart Graham. Used to race the big Chevys in British touring cars, but he's handy in the Jag as well.
And of course, Stuart Graham, the only man to have won the Tourist Trophy on 2 wheels and on 4, son of the great motorcycle racer Les Graham.
Back with the leaders as well, Christensen and Patrick Watts, nothing to choose between them. This is the race for third place. Stuart Graham's got into that third position. Patrick Watts seems to be pretty happy sitting there in second place, doesn't he?
Well, of course, the Austin Westminster is a more powerful car. Big 2.6-litre four-cylinder engine under the bonnet.
Oh, I think that's Ollie Gavin, who's just taken a little trip across the grass. I don't think it's done him too much damage. He gets the little Austin A40 back on track.
Well, St Mary's a double corner, a right followed by a left, and as he went into the left, he seemed to lock up a wheel. A lot of tyre smoke there, ran very wide, but he keeps it pointing in the right direction across the grass to get back on the tarmac.
Now back with Tiffany Dell, the bright orange crash helmet showing up well, and Martin Brundle tucked in behind him. You could get about 3 of those little Austin A35s into that Jaguar. Here he goes, getting alongside, and Brundle's got a great run. It's a remarkably fast little car. This up towards the right-hander at Madgwick, and he's through. He's taken the place.
Incredible to think that these cars are over half a century old. They used to be what you went shopping in the days before motorways were built.
Oh, and Ollie Gavin's got down the inside. Here at Tony Tron, squeezing that A40 past, and despite his little off on the grass earlier, he's made it through. And watch out for Tony Jardine, who's also going to try and squeeze through. Another of the little Austins there in the number 4 car. That's Tony, but no way through past Tony Tron just yet. Meanwhile, the other Austin we've been chasing is Martin Brundle. And look at him, he's going up the inside. He's into third place, and he is absolutely flying. Stuart Graham tucked in behind him now. Watch him as they come through the right-hand king. These skinny tyres that they raced on. A little wave there from Stuart, that's nice. Oh, and the leaders are side by side battling into the chicane. Tom Christensen and Patrick Watts making contact.
Whatever else, you cannot go 2 abreast through that chicane. And Patrick Watts had to come off the power, but now he's got to run down the outside for Madgwick Corner. Tom Christensen fighting back.
He touch again. You wouldn't think that these are historic cars, would you? They're racing as if they're modern touring cars. And Tom Christensen is loving this. Patrick Watts up on the outside. The car looking quite wayward on its skinny tyres. And Martin Brundle is catching both of them. Look at him. In third place, he's closing the gap.
Well, the fact that they're both battling is allowing Martin Brundle with empty road behind him. He hasn't got to keep the door shut on anybody now. He's able to get a run on these 2 leaders. Incredible how quick that the little Austin A35 is, not only in the corners, but even in a straight line.
Yeah, and he's just set fastest lap. Look at that, 138, 167 from Martin Brundle. He's closing, he's trying to take second place from Patrick Watts. He's got down the inside, and he's done it. He's got between the 2 that have been racing for the lead throughout. Tom Christensen is his next target. Can he win this thing? Oh, and that's Tony Jardine off in the number 4 car. Well, he's hit the barrier pretty hard there. Not quite sure what happened, Simon.
Well, they're very short wheelbase, these little A35s. He got the opposite lock on, but he just couldn't hold it. But he stayed on all 4 wheels. Last year, Tony Jardine ended up on his roof.
Back with the leaders, and Tom Christensen now has Martin Brundle bearing down on him. 8 times Le Mans winner Tom Christensen has former Grand Prix driver right behind him in that little Austin. He's got a tighter line. Is this going to work? They've got traffic to deal with. Oh, they make contact. They hit each other. Martin Brundle hits Tom Christensen. Would you believe it? Oh, but there's damage now. Surely there's damage. Look at the way that car's leaning over.
Yes, he's got a punctured front left tyre, unfortunately. I wonder if there's more damage as well, because he hit him pretty hard. He's punctured the tyre. We see it once again. There was nowhere for the A35 to go. It took a big thump. And it's not only ruined the tyre, I think he's damaged his front suspension as well.
But is Tom Christensen in trouble or what? Because he seems to be waving Patrick Watts through. Has it damaged his car? Into the lead goes Patrick Watts, but into pit lane has come Martin Brundle, and he is out of this race. That's disappointing after a tremendous display. Oh, but there's problems as well for Patrick Watts. He's out of it as well, so Tom Christensen will retake the lead.
Yes, the Volvo Amazon clearly had the legs of the Austin Westminster, but it's stopped. It's all gone wrong for him. It's going to be Christensen's race.
What a fabulous display from Tom Christensen, his first time at Goodwood, and he wins the St Mary's Trophy. And he's loving it, you can tell. Really enjoying the moment here is Tom Christensen. He wins it from Stuart Graham, Tiffany Dell and Derek Bell, ahead of Oliver Gavin. But, of course, we're missing Martin Brundle and Patrick Watts. But even an 8 times Le Mans winner can't help but be swept away by the Goodwood spirit.
I absolutely love it, Jan. What a thrilling race it was, right from the line, and everything in the briefing room with all the great names on the grid. And these cars, some I've never even heard of. It's been a brilliant day so far, or weekend.
Goodwood's Richmond lawn, the greatest show on earth was in town. And when the offer came along to get involved, I just couldn't turn it down. Well, not when there was a world title at stake. Oh my God! Come on! Yeah! Woo!
1, 2, 3.
I'm now with Ringmaster Extraordinaire. Tell me how it's done.
Well, Natalie, the key point of being a ringmaster is to introduce the acts.
Can I give it a go?
Best of luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Daz the Clown, the strongest man in the world. Take it away, Daz. Daz, come on. Move over. Give it a go. Hey!
Come on. Coming up after the break, more race action from the Goodwood Revival. Boom!
My name is Derek Herbert. I'm a Winston Churchill impersonator. My first time at Goodwood here, and I'm having a marvellous time. Never in the field of human conflict is so much owed by so many to so few.
In the mid-1950s, the bike racing world belonged to John Surtees. The son of a South London motorbike dealer, Surtees took 7 world titles in the space of 5 years. But in 1960, a switch to 4 wheels and a Formula One world title in 1964 elevated him to legendary status. 2010 marks the 50th anniversary of his car racing debut at Goodwood, and I caught up with the great man to get his feelings on both modes of transport.
So here we are at the Revival. For me, this is like stepping back in time. It's like stepping into a giant film set. How does it feel for you?
The same. It is stepping back in time because my memories of Goodwood are the memories of my car career.
I mean, that transition from motorbikes to motor cars was extraordinary. The only person still to this day who's ever made that transition. Which gave you more satisfaction, more happiness? Winning your first world championship on a bike or in a car?
The relationship you create with a piece of machinery is very, very special. You don't just sort of sit there and treat it as something which isn't part of you. Through the seat of your pants, particularly as a motorcyclist, you sense what it's doing and you have to relate to it. So the motorcycle is something very special. Your first love is something where particularly the preciseness and the way you can adjust it. You are so much in control, at least most of the time.
So what you're saying is your motorcycle was your first wife and the motor car was your mistress?
In many ways, yes. In many ways, that's yes. We have a situation where generally every time I sat on a bike, I got that wonderful feeling and relationship where I became part of it. With the cars, I didn't get it every time. I got it the majority of the times when things all came together.
And do you think anyone will make that transition from 2 wheels to 4 wheels like you did? Do you like holding that unique baton?
It's nice, but why not? I mean, youngsters get an opportunity in motorcycling now, of starting at their 15 and getting in even to world championship level. So the fact remains, if someone comes along and develops a career up to, say, about 25 and then says, right, I think I'm ready for another challenge, then it's possible, which is virtually a replay of what happened to me. Yes, there's possibly people out there, but the big thing is, what they will have to do is sit in a car and do the same as I did, go as quick as the people who are already there.
Well, John, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the revival here at Goodwood.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
The Goodwood Revival has so much to offer, including masterclasses in acting. Oh, I love a bit of drama.
This is Natalie, and Natalie has very kindly agreed to come on set with us today, and she's actually going to be taking your part.
Oh, really? Sorry, love.
Don't worry about it, all right?
Okay, that's fine.
Action!
Who is this? This is my scene!
Cut! That's a wrap. Now let's go to some race action.
We're 5 minutes into the Richmond Trophy, the race for front-engined Grand Prix cars, raced between 1950 and 1960. The number 29 car, Patrick Orozco, the Scarab. But up front, we've got Gary Pearson in the BRM, the Type 25 car, and he's having a bit of pressure on him from Barry Williams in the number 99 car, the Ferguson. Meanwhile, on board with Richard Atwood, this is the Ferrari, the 246 Dino. Some beautiful cars here, Simon.
Well, there are indeed, and most interestingly, the number 99 car, the Ferguson, being driven by Barry Williams, is the only four-wheel drive car ever to win a Formula One race.
Into the chicane, on board with Richard Atwood, and that Ferguson in second place with its four-wheel drive is certainly putting some pressure on Gary Pearson up front. Barry Williams really giving it his all, and the Scarab there in fourth place. But up the inside, here comes Barry Williams, and he's taken it. He's got in front, and the Ferguson takes the lead of the race. Gary Pearson in the BRM didn't quite have the speed to respond there.
Indeed, a 2.5-litre four-cylinder Climax in the Ferguson, a 2.5-litre four-cylinder BRM engine, of course, in the BRM.
Oh, we've got a change here, possibly Patrick Orozco in the number 29 car, trying to get up the inside of Richard Atwood. On board with Atwood, and through he goes. Fantastic view as they come through some of the fastest sections here at Goodwood.
Just lapping the side tank Lancia D50 of Eberhard Thiessen there.
And up through St Mary's, up towards the tighter right-hander at Lavance, one of the slowest corners on this track. Barry Williams pulling away. Oh, that was a big mistake there from Patrick Orozco. He got on the grass and then really had to sort himself out.
It's a wonderful-looking car. There are two of these Scarabs in this race, driven by father and son, Don and Patrick Orozco, the first American, all-American Formula One car, the Scarab.
Yeah, fantastic history to it, and he's in the battle up front. Let's just see what he did here, Simon. I think, yeah, he put a wheel on the grass, and then he ended up cutting across the grass here. And in fact, he got passed by Frank Stippler in the Maserati 250F, so he's ended up losing a bit of time through that. Back with Richard Atwood, though, that beautiful 246 Dino Ferrari. Same type of car that took Mike Hawthorne to the World Championship, of course. Oh, and big sideways moment. Oh, my goodness, he's so nearly hit by Richard Atwood. That was Patrick Orozco getting so sideways in the middle of the chicane. I don't know how he missed him.
Well, Atwood had to get hard on the brakes, and that allowed Frank Stippler to make up another place in the 250F Maserati. So Orozco got away with it, but Atwood was slowed.
So look at this, he comes into the chicane, the back end starts to go, Richard Atwood's right there, and he almost T-bones him, just manages to slow that Ferrari in time, and it's Frank Stippler, I think, getting past him in the 250F as a result of that. And Frank Stippler, an Audi Works driver, he's now caught Orozco, and it was this area, and he's done it again. Oh, he's lost it completely this time. Patrick Orozco saying hello to the fans at the side of the chicane. It's not quite what he was planning, but I think he's going to be able to rejoin without any damage. Gets to the nod from the marshals, and away he goes.
Yes, but Orozco had been getting more and more untidy. His father, in fact, going a bit more quickly in the sister car, but you see the back end went away from him under braking. He just managed to stop short of those barriers, got back onto the track, but he's dropped right out of that third place battle.
So a great shame, but nonetheless, no damage done. And there's Barry Williams, still loving the feel of the Ferguson, the four-wheel drive car. Look how high it sits at the front. It looks so different to a modern Formula One car.
But it is much more compact than the BRM. Very much lower front layer, and the BRM's got ahead.
Yeah, the BRM of Gary Pearson taking the lead from Barry Williams there and managing to go through. Remember, we are celebrating 60 years of BRM this weekend. would be wonderful if he can come through, would it? Although disappointing for Barry. And meanwhile, the Maserati and the Ferrari are side by side. Richard Atwood trying to go back past Frank Stippler, and he does it. Stippler controlling the slide beautifully in that 250F, but Richard Atwood is through.
Wonderful move by Atwood, because he went round the outside of the right-hand section. But now they come up to lap the little Gordini, and Atwood under real pressure from Stippler now as they come out of lap corner.
Two classic shapes, the front-engined Italian thoroughbreds. Oh, and off the track is the number 32 car. That's Eddie Maguire, and he's clambering out of the Cooper Bristol.
Yes, Eddie Maguire, the rapid Irishman, driving several cars here at Goodwood, but he's going to go no further in the Cooper.
Meanwhile, Gary Pearson in the BRM is heading towards the final corner now. He got past Barry Williams. He's been able to ease away out in front, and he comes through to win the Richmond Trophy here at Goodwood. Superb drive by Gary Pearson in that beautiful BRM. Second place going to Barry Williams in the four-wheel drive Ferguson, and third place after a tremendous fight throughout for Richard Atwood in the Ferrari 246 Dino. Don Orozco actually finished in fourth place ahead of Patrick. In the end, Tony Smith was sixth and Frank Stippler seventh.
Great field of cars. I'm a sports car man, really, but to drive the BRM here on the 6th anniversary, have a win, and for my money, I think this is the best looking grid of the event. This is the front-engine Grand Prix cars. Fantastic. Yeah, it's my dad's here. He was a BRM nut through and through, and he's absolutely delighted.
Every year at Goodwood Revival, we have a ball. This year, we go to Transylvania.
No, it's great. I mean, it's fun. It's fun always doing these things. It's, we've done lots of pretty wild ones, and this is probably one of the maddest.
It's pretty scary, isn't it? I don't think I've ever seen so many vampires in one room in one night. So yeah, it's incredible what Lord March does, but it's going to be an interesting evening.
Still to come from the revival, we talk aviation with James Martin and Bruce Dickinson, and there's the big race, the RAC TT Celebration.
My name's Tina Balmer. I come from Leonsea in Essex, and I'm a mobile hairdresser. This is my first time at Goodwood, and I put my outfit together from various sources. My dress came from a vintage website. It's American, actually, it comes from America, and my favourite part of my outfit is my hat, which my friend lent me. And I'm absolutely having a wonderful time, absolutely love it.
It's not just the skies above Goodwood which are filled with evocative aircraft. On the ground, I ventured into a display showcasing rare and beautiful planes from the pioneering days of aviation. A panel of celebrity judges were given the task of picking a winner to receive the Freddie March Spirit of Aviation Trophy. And what have you been looking out for today in terms of the planes?
Well, I think it's almost one of those things, you know, it's personal preference really when it comes to this sort of thing. However, typical blokes, we're looking at the amount of guns on there, so if it had plenty of guns on it, it was good ticks.
It's such an extraordinary mix of aircraft, so it's extremely difficult to judge them.
So tell us where your interest in aviation, aeroplanes, comes from.
I mean, I fly airplanes professionally as a commercial pilot for an airline called Australis, and I also fly little aeroplanes from time to time as well.
One of the extraordinary things about the aircraft that are here, some of them are so rare, adds another quality.
There's some beautiful, beautiful Stearmans and amazing sort of bits of things.
There are two absolutely unbelievable 1930s RAF fighters here that are just gorgeous.
We're about halfway through the Ford Water Trophy for production-based sports and GT cars, raced between 1960 and 1966. And Sean Rainford is leading at the moment in his Lenham GT, but we're on board here with Ray Davis in the number 18 car. And, well, Ray's in something that's slightly different. This is the Mini-based car, the Mini Gem GT, and he's having a little bit of a go here, trying to get up into second place. Not quite there at the moment, chasing after number 6 entry of Nick Swift. And this is a car that never actually raced in its heyday. Some beautiful cars here though, Simon. That Alfa Romeo Giulietta is a stunning machine.
Beautiful. That's the James Wiseman Zagato bodied Alfa, but it's the little BMC A series cars, the cars based on the Mini and based on the Austin Healey Sprite, that are dominating the front of this race.
Oh, and off is Richard Dodkins, and now that's a Triumph TR4. Doesn't look like one, but it is.
Special body done by SLR.
Well, back with the front group now, and Nick Swift in car number 16 coming under real pressure now from our onboard man Ray Davis, and he's got the inside line and gives a little wave and says thank you very much and gets in front. But I tell you what, it's still very, very close behind him. Sean Rainford there moving back into second position. So you've got the front-wheel drive car in the lead, a rear-wheel drive car in second place, a front-wheel drive car in third, but all, as you say, Simon, with much the same engine.
Yes, the custard-coloured car in second place, the Lenham GT. That's based on an MG Midget, so same engine as the car in front, but driving the rear wheels based on the MG Midget, and a spin from another Lenham GT.
Yep, that's Mike Haig. Now, hopefully he's just going to be able to get back onto the tarmac. Yep, he fires it back up and rejoins the race. No damage done. Back with our lead trio, though, and it's anybody's here, isn't it? Nick Swift driving that Mini Dart. Oh, and Ray Davis has just been zapped there by Sean Rainford. The Mini Dart out in front of us, an interesting car because, as I say, it never raced in its heyday, Simon.
Built by Dizzy Adicott to compete with the Mini Gem and the Mini Marcos, but Dizzy Adicott decided that the longer wheelbase Mini Van chassis would be a better platform for the car to be built on. And certainly, with Nick Swift at the wheel, he runs the Swift tuning company. He's made that car go extraordinarily quickly.
Yeah, he's flying. He's out in front at the moment. Look at this battle for second and third, though. Back on board with Ray Davis. That little BMC A series engine working its heart out here down the pit straight at Goodwood. He's got a great bit of a toe. He's going to have a run into Madgwick by the looks of it. He's got down the inside and he retakes second place. So Ray Davis finding his way past Sean Rainford, and he goes chasing after race leader. But, you know, the race leader's made that little bit of a break this time. Nick Swift looking very, very good indeed. Further back in the pack, we've got a little gaggle of cars all battling for 10th position. Chris Clegg and Jim Prentice. Chris Clegg in the Austin Healey Sebring.
And that Dayglow Orange Austin Healey, a works car run at Le Mans in 1965, raced by Paddy Hopkirk and Andrew Hedges.
Oh, and he's having a little look up the inside here, trying to take the place. Remember, this is the battle for 10th position. And the tiny little tyres they're on, they're so narrow, it's amazing they generate any grip at all.
And the little coupe at the back of that trio, the Deep Sanderson, that uses the transverse mini engine, but just to be different, it's in the back, driving the rear wheels.
Now, we're looking at Ray Davis here in third place, but, oh, listen up, I think he's got a bit of a problem. He's dropped back from the leaders. That doesn't sound right.
No, that car's on 3 cylinders, I'm afraid. Ray Davis now going very much more slowly. He's got his right winker on to tell everybody else, please come by, my race is over.
Well, the Hot Lips car might be in trouble, but up front it's looking very, very good for Nick Swift in that Mini Dart. It might not have raced when it was built, but I tell you what, since it's been restored, it's shown great pace based on a minivan, and yet it handles this Goodwood track to perfection.
Wonderful way of going racing very cheaply in the mid-1960s. You found a crashed minivan, you put a dark fiberglass body on it, and off you went.
And he's already celebrating. He better not do a Nigel Mansell here. You know, he's not quite got to the flag, but there's only a couple of corners to go into Woodcote. He's got that number 49 car we saw earlier on in the race just ahead of him. I don't know whether he'll lap that just before we see the flag. Perhaps not. He's happy. He's going to take the win here in the Ford Water Trophy. He's some 3 seconds up the road from his nearest challenger, Sean Rainford. Celebrations indeed for Nick Swift. Rainford's going to finish in second place, and it's Gordon Elwell who's going to bring his Austin Healey Sebring Sprite home in third position. So it's the win for Swift ahead of Rainford and Elwell, with Paul Woolmer finishing in fourth place. But there's no one happier here at Goodwood than Nick Swift.
Swift Dart, I think that is an incredible little car. I think we did Dizzy Adicott, if he'd have been alive today, he'd have really, really enjoyed that.
Away from the racing, you do have to be a bit careful at the Revival. Go through the wrong door and you could find yourself in the middle of a crisis.
Wow. Look at this. The lengths these guys go through to get the true 1940s flavour is astonishing. I feel like I'm in the war.
65, position 4-5, confirmed visual on 116 horsepower. Let's get down to the...
Ben, you might be all right with your very own version of war games, but us girls, well, we prefer something a little more calming. Now I've jumped forward to 1966 to do my weekly shop. Goodwood stocks just about everything. Bit of dog food, lovely. Join us after the break for plenty more race action from the Goodwood Revival. Plenty of room up top!
Good day, my name is Gilles Lefebvre. I'm Belgian, I'm busy in medical health. I come for the 6th time to Goodwood. 5th time Revival edition because of the gorgeous cars and also the atmosphere and in particularly also the good looking of the ladies.
Everywhere you look at the Revival, the military theme is very much in evidence, and with good reason. The site we now know as the Goodwood Motor Circuit began life as RAF West Hampnet and played a major role in the defence of Great Britain during the Second World War. 2010's event sees a spectacular tribute being paid to some very special visitors from Goodwood's past.
Turning the tide of war by their prowess and by their devotion.
This year marks the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, and astonishingly, behind me are some of those pilots and their Hurricanes and Spitfires back here at Goodwood.
Among those pilots were 88-year-old Canadian Ray Shirk and Tony Gaze, the man who, when the war ended, suggested to Goodwood's then owner, Freddie March, that the airfield's perimeter road should be used as a racetrack.
Flying from West Hampnet was different from everywhere else. We all wanted to be here because it didn't get bombed. Jangmere got bombed because of the runways stood out. Here had no runways. It was a nice grass field with strips of tar, I think it was, they put where the hedges had been, so that looking down on it, it looked as if it was still a lot of fields.
Of course, the airfield is still here, and I see some of the landmarks are still here. But there are trees in the way of the spire at the cathedral. When we could see the spire, we knew we had at least 3 miles of visibility, which is a weather check.
And you were involved in a lot of actual combat in the skies?
Yeah.
Do you have memories of that?
Yes. Well, it's like any other job, really. I think you start off with really excited to do as well as you possibly can. And after, 6 months or so, it becomes a job.
A very unusual job.
Yeah.
Do you remember that first encounter in the skies?
Yes, I do. October the 13th, or something like that, 1941.
Was it scary?
Well, very, very adventuresome and exciting, to say the least. And of course, not everybody came back. That was the thing about it, And you count them up afterwards, and they're not all there, and that's a sadness.
As for the very different kind of heroes in Goodwood skies today, their huge admiration for the pilots of yesteryear is understandable.
I'm totally in awe of the guys who, with very little experience and at a very young age, were thrown into one and told to go and defend the country. I think that, requires a massive amount of courage, especially when, that day and the day before and the day before that and the day before that, your friends were being killed. If you look at the history of the armed services in the UK, it's why we're still here. Whether you're talking about the Royal Navy, the British Army or the Royal Air Force, we do have that let's keep our home in order feeling, and that's why, we didn't allow anybody to overrun us back in the Second World War.
The final word, though, must go to the godfather of Goodwood and what he feels about the race circuit he helped to become a reality.
Well, I think you're always pleased if your ideas sort of grow, and it certainly has grown. I still think that he did it wrong, and that he should have run it the other way around and he wouldn't have had to have a chicane.
Tony, thank you very much.
Not a bit.
This really is like stepping back in time. You can see the buzz of excitement, and soon we'll be able to hear the rumble of it as the cars get ready for the RAC TT. Let's join the commentators one last time for the big finale.
This is indeed the big race of the weekend.
Yes, the Tourist Trophy came to Goodwood in the late 1950s, and these are GT cars as they raced here in the early 1960s.
Bobby Verdon Rowe starting on pole position. We've got Rob Hall in the Cobra on the middle of the front row, and Justin Law in the Lister Jaguar on the outside of that front row. All set to start. The 1 hour race, 2 drivers. Who's it going to be off the line? And it's a great start on the outside from Justin Law. And everybody gets off the line cleanly. That's always good to see. And it is that number 17 car of Justin Law that snatches the advantage. Rob Hall in the Cobra is in second place. Bobby Verdon Rowe in third. We got cars running wide as ever. But what a collection of cars this is. £250 million worth of machinery on track. And you're riding on board with Bobby Verdon Rowe. He's in third place, chasing down the 2 leaders. Got the AC Cobra and the Lister Jag just ahead. And we're looking at Bobby now as he looks composed in his attempt. But it's Rob Hall in the white AC Cobra who snatches the advantage.
Yes, V8 torque and horsepower against 6-cylinder twin-cam Jaguar power. And it's the American cubic inches that are working best now.
But Justin Law's not giving up on that lead. Look, he's trying to come back down the outside. Bobby Verdon Rowe looking to slide the Ferrari down in between them. Can't do it as yet. And Rob Hall powers that Cobra. And it's sliding all the time, even through the kink there. And also catching up in the background, Adrian Newey in his E-Type. He's in 4th place. On board with Bobby Verdon Rowe, and he's going for 2nd place, and he's done it. He's gone into 2nd position now, and the Ferrari is flying. He's chasing that Cobra.
Yes, the Cobra, an American pushrod V8. The Ferrari, of course, need you ask, V12 with lots of valves and camshafts.
Up towards the chicane, and Justin Law in 3rd place. We're riding with him. Watch him through here, threading the needle through the chicane, and he does it beautifully. But right behind him is Adrian Newey in the E-Type, and look how close Adrian Newey's getting now. He's surely going to have a go at getting past as they come up to the first corner at Madgwick. He's down the inside, but Justin Law stays around the outside. This is hard racing, no matter how much these cars are worth.
The Red Bull Formula One guru knows how to make an old E-Type go quickly as well, but he's being threatened by the low-line Ferrari GTO coming through. That's Peter Hardman in number 18.
Yeah, look how hard he's trying. That car is moving about all over the place. And Peter Hardman is a very experienced, very rapid driver. Oh, and a big slide there as well from Bobby Verdon Rowe in 2nd. 3rd, 4th and 5th then following through St Mary's. Back on board with Bobby Verdon Rowe. Challenging for the lead with that Cobra. But the big V8-powered white machine is just ahead at the moment. Out onto the straight. They've got to get through the kink here. Sliding all the way as they do so. Then Adrian Newey still under pressure from Peter Hardman.
They call it the Goodwood Revival because this really is reviving what these races looked like in the early 1960s. Those of us who are old enough to remember know that this is exactly how close the racing was in period.
Oh, Peter Hardman just popping out of the slipstream, but the car moving around an awful lot. Oh, and again he's sliding his way through Woodcote up towards the chicane. Is he going to go for the lunge up the inside? No, not really enough space to do that. Ollie Bryant's in another Cobra, not far behind him. He's in the red and gold machine. Let's just take a look at the start once again, and Justin Law got off the line perfectly.
Yes, 2 black lines of rubber from where Justin Law was on the outside of the front row, vaulting into the lead into Madgwick Corner.
Battle for the lead. Bobby Verdon Rowe is going for it, trying to get past the Cobra. Can he do it? No, he can't. Rob Hall defends mightily, and there's no way through at the moment. Meanwhile, in the pits, there's problems there for Barry Williams, but they've sent him on his way once again. Meanwhile, Martin Brundle in the Ferrari here, closing up on Ludovic Caron. We're on board with Martin Brundle. This is the 250 GTO.
Yes, the car that belongs to Nick Mason. He's owned it for many years. He bought it for £17,000 about 30 years ago. He's since turned down 7 figures for it.
Wow. Well, Martin Brundle will be sharing this car with Mark Hales, and we're getting into that time where the drivers will be swapping over. Meanwhile, Martin wants to try and take this place, if possible, from Ludovic Caron in that AC Cobra. Plenty of Cobras throughout the field. A big old gear stick. It's a bit different to the sequential shift we have nowadays, Simon.
Well, these Cobras have a lot of grunt. Martin Brundle, much more experienced than Ludovic Caron, and the Ferrari holds the road better than the AC with its transverse kart springing. But the horsepower and the torque of the Cobra is still keeping it ahead of the hard-working Martin Brundle.
Hard-working's the right word, but we're back to the battle for second place here at the moment. And Bobby Verdenroe under pressure from Peter Hartman, and Peter Hartman's going through. Oh, and Bobby Verdenroe, you know, he might have his indicator on, but he was not making it easy for him at all. That Winker's been going for a few laps now, and look how hard Bobby Verdenroe is driving to keep control of his car, but it's Bobby Verdenroe in third, and Peter Hartman up into second place. Oh, and we've got a car off. Oh, my goodness. That's the Adrian Newey car, but it's Bobby Rahal in the car now. They've swapped earlier than some of the others. It looks as though he's lost a wheel, Simon.
Yes, clearly the right rear wheel came off just as he was going up to the start of St Mary's. He's unhurt. He's out of the car. But isn't that Bobby Verdenroe stopping?
Oh, I think you're right. So the challenger for the lead in this race, Bobby Verdenroe, he dropped to third, but he was still very much in that fight, and he's out of the race, and that's a great shame. So this is the race for the lead now. It is Rob Hall in the Cobra with Peter Hartman trying to get past him. He's got alongside. Hartman takes the lead, but he goes off. He's on the grass. Oh, my goodness. All this value in this car being thrown onto the grass and into the field. Thankfully, he hasn't actually hit anything. But that was truly dramatic, going off in the area where the E-Type had gone off a moment ago. Well, he's driving through the cornstalks, but that incident of the E-Type has brought the safety car out, in period, of course, and a dramatic accident for Peter Hartman.
Yes, Hartman tried to go down the inside under braking for the left-hander of St Mary's, left his braking too late. Fortunately, the Cobra was able to miss him as he went off to the right-hand side in the Anthony Bamford 250 GTO Ferrari, spun with no damage, fortunately, to that wonderful car.
Now he's come into the pits and switched to Jean-Marc Gounod. Meanwhile, problems for the Ross Warburton Derek Bell car in the pits there as well. But driver changes being taking place here. And Jean-Marc Gounod, who's taken over from Peter Hartman, has actually gained an advantage, ironically. Hartman went off, came in the pits to check the car over, and actually they came in at the perfect time, so they've got themselves a very useful advantage out in front. Into the pits comes the number 30 E-Type, Oliver Gavin, handing over to Mark Clubb. On track, though, Anthony Reid has now taken over the number 17 car from Justin Law. And Simon, he's on something of a charge here.
He is, Anthony Reid, carving his way through the field. There are a lot of slower cars to get by, 3 abreast down into the chicane, but somehow Anthony Reid passes both those cars and comes out in front.
Well, he's on such a charge, he's now trying to get into third place. Jim Richards, the Aussie touring car legend in the Cobra, can't do anything about Anthony Reid coming through. He's into third place. Beautiful piece of driving from the touring car star of the past, a Le Mans racer as well, Reid. And now he's going chasing after the top 2. Look how hard he's working the car.
Yes, using a bit of grass coming out of the chicane there.
Michael Wilkinson's got off into the gravel trap. I'm not sure he's going to get it back out of there. Let's see how he did it.
Yes, Michael Wilkinson trying to squeeze past the number 7 Aston Martin DB4 GT of Rauno Eltonen. Eltonen stayed on the track just in a cloud of rubber smoke, but Wilkinson was off.
Meanwhile, this is Jean-Marc Gounod, and he has a very comfortable advantage, having taken over from Peter Hartman at what turned out to be the perfect time after Peter'd got on the grass. Now this is the race for second place, and it's getting close. Nicolas Minassian now in the Cobra number 1, and Anthony Reid trying to get past the Peugeot Works driver. Well, this is a little different to what Nicolas is usually racing, but he's putting up a tremendous fight.
Well, on the long straight, the Cobra has more grunt than the Lister Jaguar, but the Lister Jaguar is so quick through the corners.
Well, we're on the last lap, and Jean-Marc Gounod's heading towards the line, squeezing by the wall, but but he has taken victory in the number 18 Ferrari with Peter Hartmann. A superb performance by the team there. And what's going to happen in this race for second place? Nicholas Minassia has the Cobra ahead of Anthony Reid, and I think he's going to stay there. Powers his way out of the chicane, and Anthony Reid, despite all his efforts, can't quite take second, but it's still been a stunning drive from him. So a comfortable win for Jean-Marc Gounon and Peter Hartmann, while Nicholas Manassian fended off Anthony Reid, and Aussie legend Jim Richards brought the Cobra, started by Rob Hall, into 4th place, and Martin Brundle and Mark Hales' Ferrari was 5th. Let's hear from our winners.
It was too easy, and I wanted to show to the people around the track that I was so happy. Also, I made a little show, and I am very happy for Sir Anthony Bamford, because he's doing every year this race with this car, which is such a wonderful car, and it's the first time we achieved to win the race. Last year was nearly done, and this year we achieved it with Peter. Also, I'm very happy for all the team.
I really enjoyed the race. I hadn't done a start before in the car, but I just thought once we get away, we just got to pick everybody off. And it was all right. I just sat and waited, and then got into 3rd, caught the other 2 up, and they were sort of holding each other up a little bit. Got past Bobby, and I got the lead actually just before I came in, but ended up on the grass. I think Jean-Marc was copying me actually.
The curtain falls on another Goodwood Revival, and what a year it's been, and you have been a very busy girl.
Absolutely. It's not every weekend that you get to run away with the circus. I've lifted very big weights with very little men. I've wrestled,
like
and
that?
yeah, nice, and sucked my vampire teeth in just a handful of necks. Good fun. How about you? Highlights?
I think the highlights was meeting the living legends of the air. I fancy becoming an RAF pilot myself.
Smooth.
Hey, see you next year.
Bye.
Bye.
And cut, that's a wrap, guys.
How was that?
That was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah.
You were amazing.
Enough emotion. How was the hat? Was it okay?
The hat was perfect. I loved it.